Welcome to episode 119 of How About the Huskies. As always, I'm your host, Connor, joined by Matt and Andrew. And today, we got a few things on our plate. First of all, thank you guys for those of you who joined us for last night's late live stream. I don't blame you if you didn't. We started after the game at around 11:30 Eastern, didn't go end until almost 12:30. So if you guys were there for any part of that, even if it was just a minute or two to check us out, we appreciate it. We always appreciate the support. We love doing those live streams. But today's episode, this will probably come out Thursday, so 2 days after the live stream by the time you're listening to this. We're going to talk a little bit about that Creighton game, maybe just some things we slept on, want to discuss. So not going too deep because you want to hear what we talked about deep into that Creighton. Go watch the live stream. We talked all about it there. Then we'll preview the Seton Hall game coming up this weekend, a game that shouldn't be too much trouble for the Huskies, but it has been in the past few years, so who knows? And we'll close out with some more fun trivia because you guys like it. You guys as in Matt and Andrew, and you guys as in the viewers like it. So that's really what we got, the whole schedule for episode 119. So I guess I'll just open the floor to you guys for any, I guess, closing last thoughts from last night's first ever UConn win in Omaha.
Yeah, we covered a bunch of it last night, and the short gist is that Liam McNeely is him, and that we won a must-win game without saying it was a must-win. Because I hate saying that they're must-win games because it feels so much worse if you lose. But in the back of our minds, as UConn fans, I feel like we all knew that last night was a game that we needed to win. So it was a great win, great overall team win, and we needed it.
It definitely had that tournament vibe to it. We kind of alluded to last night. And I mean, it's just great to pull that one out, especially one where, I mean, I feel like you'd be lying if you said that you were confident going into it at Creighton, never won there before. It's a huge win. Like Andrew said, it was essentially a must win. Everybody kind of knew, and the freshman steps up and brings it home for us.
Yeah, I'll echo you guys. It was a must win in a game that no one really thought the Huskies would win. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I'm sure you two have seen everything that's going on with Dan Hurley after the game. He's waving goodbye to the fans. He's saying two rings, two rings. The last one, two rings, Baldy, which is a little funny seeing who Dan Hurley is himself. But I mean, I'll just let you guys talk about that. I don't really have a question for you guys. Just if you guys have anything to say about that, just feel free.
If you dish it out, you have to be able to take it. The world doesn't work with I can say whatever I want, but if somebody says something back to me, then oh, it's that person's terrible and it's unfair. No, that's not how the world works. They were chanting F Dan Hurley all night. I heard a rumor. I don't know if this is true, but I heard that the students were chanting diarrhea. Uh, Obviously directed at Hassan Diarra, but there was reason to it, especially with what happened last year with the Creighton fans and taunting him. Taunting and saying things to fan or to the players and coaches is part of the game, but it's simple. If you don't want somebody to clap back at you, then don't say anything. Because I think that Hurley had really every right to clap back at these guys and say what he did. Plus, he didn't even say anything harm. He didn't say like "f you" or anything. He just pointed out the obvious that he won back-to-back championships, which he has. So, I mean, I think that the people that said that if there's anybody saying that it's okay for the Creighton fans to say whatever they want, but if Hurley says anything back, then he's unprofessional. I think that's ridiculous and false. I have zero problem with Hurley sticking up for himself, for his players, and for his team, and that's why he's the best coach in America.
I think, this was obviously a lot different from last year's events where things got almost physical. Hurley, was quoted of saying a few things that nobody really knows the what he actually said or what was said to him. I think this year, he's keeping it basketball, and I think that's all you can really ask from him. He is who he is, and at this point, you've kind of gotten used to it as UConn fans and supporters, and I think that like if you just share your background and don't say like, oh, I'm gonna knock you out or whatever whatever he said. If he says, oh, I got two rings, I feel like that's just a lot different from the Hurley of past, and I think that is definitely a little bit of growth in that area, and it would be awesome just to see him kind of continue with that moving forward, regardless of if it's in Creighton or if it's at Butler or if it's at Hall. um I like to see that from him.
Yeah, and this game isn't massive for like our program to win in Omaha. It's nice to finally get that off our chest, our first ever win at Creighton. But it's not something that they're gonna like I not literally hang a banner, but metaphorically hang a banner for. But this is something Hurley, who's a very competitive guy, has never been able to accomplish. And he's accomplished a lot of stuff since he got to UConn, won two national championships for crying out loud. So let him celebrate on top of what happened last year and in years prior where the fans go nuts towards him directly, which is a little surprising. Every time I heard the Creighton student section like on the TV, it was something in regards to Hurley, or I did hear the diarrhea towards DR. There are probably some other things towards our players. They're not cheering for their own guys. I mean, obviously that's a little cliche probably to say, but like if I'm a Creighton player, I'd like to hear our fans and the students cheering for us, not cheering against the other team. But that's silly. But all in all, I feel like you said, Andrew, you put it perfectly. If you dish it out, you have to take it. Hurley had a funny quote at the end, amongst many funny things he said after the game. He was like, I wish there were more of them when he was like doing that because last year obviously they won, so everyone was staying. This year they lost, so a bunch of them dipped out, and there was only a select few trying to berate Hurley as he was leaving. So funny there that he kind of noticed that and picked up on it. Hurley, he doesn't. I don't think he takes much offense to any of this. He kind of sees it in jest in a way, like he's laughing about it. I feel like he even found it a little funny last year. It's just who he is. He's college basketball's new villain. It seems like you either hate him or you love him. Fortunately, everyone here and UConn Nation loves him.
And I think honestly, you mentioned Creighton being more focused on us than themselves. I feel like it's kind of becoming hard to watch for them that they probably feel like they're the best team in the Big East every year. You know, they always pull out a competitive team and they always, are at the top of their game. They're always, working towards March, working towards making deep runs in March. The past 4 years they finished top four in the Big East. It's not just like they're like this random slouch school. It's probably a little bit of frustration from a school who hasn't really won anything and feels like they're on the top of the world. And I think Hurley kind of did a good job at putting these fans in their place.
All right, you guys got anything else to talk about from this Creighton game? I feel like it's a game we'll remember for a while because of how big of a win it was compared to where we were trending after losing to St. John's. But that's all I got from that one. Was all I guess shout out Liam McNeely one last time, 38 points, 10 rebounds in his first start since coming back from the injury. But moving on, the Huskies are moving on the 15th, this upcoming Saturday, going to Newark, a place similar to Omaha, not exactly the same because we've won there before, but pretty similar to Omaha, a place the Huskies don't usually win on the road at Seton Hall. I mean, obviously Seton Hall is what they have 6 wins on the season, 7 wins on the season, so it's not a game on paper the Huskies should even sweat about. But obviously, Big East basketball is Big East basketball. But what's your guys' thoughts going to this one?
I mean, like you said, we're winless in the last three tries there, and all three have kind of been bad luck. I mean, last year Klingon got hurt, we lost off a buzzer beater, and then we got into an unlucky overtime and weren't able to pull it out. But I feel like I agree with Connor. Obviously, there's going to be in the back of their heads that they haven't won there in a little bit, but this Seton Hall team stinks. There's no other way to put it. So this should not really be an issue. Honestly, I don't think Seton Hall has competed with anybody in the Big East. So this game, I really don't think will be an issue. I feel like it's when you kind of want to just not like DePaul, let them get out in front, because it is still a road environment, whether there's 1,000 people there or one person there. So you don't want to get them really, however many people are going to be at the Rock fired up. But I think you just got to hammer them from the beginning and just put them away in the first half.
Yeah, you kind of got to get on a run here because I feel like that's always a dangerous environment. But I mean, if you can kind of take the crowd out of it, then this thing could get crazy fast. I mean, we could go up pretty big, reminiscent to that DePaul game a few years ago. Hall is not competitive, like you said. They haven't really competed at all with anybody, and I mean, they have two scores in double figures. It's not a team that's gonna beat you on either side of the basketball. So I think you come out strong in the first half, and you're up by 10 or 20 within the first 10 minutes, and honestly, you could kind of cruise.
Yeah, I'm pulling up their schedule now. Seton Hall has not won a game since January 8th. They beat DePaul in overtime at home for their lone Big East win. So their only win since around Thanksgiving time was an overtime win over DePaul. So yeah, this is not a great team, but I feel like we are kind of overlooking it. I'm gonna start with us on the podcast. I feel like we're saying, oh, we have Seton Hall. Like when we're talking about Diarra and his injury, we'll sit him the Seton Hall game and maybe the Nova game first and be healthy for the St. John's game. Do you think this could potentially be a bit of a trap game, just in a sense that we're already looking past it to a game 2 weeks from now? Us on the podcast, and I'm sure that the team isn't fully doing that, but in the back of your minds, you almost have to be looking at the conference standings and how Seton Hall's played this year. I don't think it's much of a trap game because they're just that bad, but I feel like this is, if there were ever to be a surprise, complete surprise loss this year, I feel like this is a sneaky one.
I mean, the most dangerous team is the team with nothing to lose, and I could pretty confidently say that Seton Hall really have nothing to lose here. I mean, you never know in college basketball. I mean, things can happen in the blink of an eye. We could I mean, knock on wood, we could lose someone. Liam could go down again, or even Solo, and we just can't score. We can't put the ball in the basket. I feel like coming off a very emotional game like the one we just came off as well could be a little bit of a bad thing. I think as long as you stick to your game plan, you're going to be fine. I just find it hard to believe that this whole team would beat us. Maybe it might be a little more competitive than we may think, but I just can't see a world where they play 40 better minutes than us.
Yeah, this is a team that does not score the basketball well. You mentioned only two players averaging in double figures. Looking at their wins, they did score 85 in the overtime win over DePaul, but they had 67 versus NJIT, which is their previous win before that. 63 in a win versus FAU, 69, 54, 57. They just don't score a lot of points. And I feel like we've had games where we struggled to shoot the ball. Like, I feel like our past few games, including last night's game against Creighton, we didn't shoot it great outside of Liam McNeely, but we still figured out a way to win. So if you just knock down some threes, I feel like you should be able to get some separation early in the first half. And this is not a team that's really shown that can make a comeback. So if you just have a lead in the first half at halftime, you should feel pretty comfortable. But we'll do some players to watch for this one. Who do you guys have for the Huskies, really? This could use maybe a bounce back game. I mean, there's one dude that's glaring that one of you is going to take. But I mean, who do you think really needs a game against Seton Hall right now?
I mean, the obvious one, he doesn't need it at all, but I think AK needs this game. Um, I think he needs it a lot. I I want to see him kind of get back to that shooting form. I feel like this is a game to do it. I don't really think you're worried. Like we said, we keep overlooking it, but I think if AK could just have a game where he knows that his shots probably aren't going to affect it that much, and he could just see a few go in, I feel like that could be huge for his confidence going forward.
Yeah, AK is definitely the right option. But I'm gonna take Mahaney too because I want to see him pour in a couple of threes. I want it to be at a point in the game where these guys are just shooting because they need to get their confidence back. Like Matt said, we keep like overlooking it, but I've never been more confident in a game really in conference than I am with this one. Even both the DePaul ones, I was like, new year, new coach, new roster, they could do anything. I wasn't really expecting us to blow them out per se in either of those games, but this one I really don't see us coming within close to losing to them. So I think that this game is going to be big for guys that shoot the threes, and each of them, Caravan and Mahaney, I think just need to see a couple of them go in.
Yeah, with Caravan, I'm pulling up his career stats right now. This is a matchup he struggled in his career. Only 4 games, but he's averaging 9 points per game, which is below his career average. So I feel like he's definitely a clear bounce back pick. I'm gonna go a guy, Samson Johnson, and I was gonna pull it up. I think off the dome, he only played 8 minutes in the St. John's game. He only played 11 minutes in the game against Creighton. He's been in foul trouble and just like bad matchups for him as of late. But I feel like he's due for a game where he's gonna play the majority of the center minutes. It hasn't been that way in a few games. Maybe he gets back into double figures. Seton Hall does not, they don't do a lot of things great, don't get me wrong. But their front court play is not something that really has been stellar this season. They have some young pieces there that haven't really gelled the way Shaheen Holloway's wanted. So I feel like Sampson, I guess, and Terrace Reed as well should take advantage of that, but I'm gonna go with Sampson for my player to watch. So that's it for the Seton Hall portion of this episode. I did mention we're doing some trivia, have some fun after a big win. Why not? Huskies trivia. Well, during guess the year again, I will get it pulled up here. If you guys didn't watch last time, the viewers, I'm blanking where the share is. There it is. Uh, there you guys can see that. All right, cool. You guys
I'm
can
unmuted for this.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
can see that. Yes.
I'm just setting it up. So, yeah, guess the year. The rules are pretty self-explanatory. If you watched last time, you should remember. Guess what year these UConn teams are based on the scoring from the starting five. Players chosen are the five who made the most starts, and this is from the national championship era for the Huskies. We're looking at 1998 to 2025. So, you guys ready? If you didn't watch last time, these two went perfect last time doing this. So, a lot of pressure to go five for
Okay.
five again. Here, I'm looking to my right because that's where the screen is. If you see that on the video,
Let's do it, Matt.
let's do it.
We're working as a team.
Yes, sir.
Oh God.
First team, you
Okay.
have this is the they do get harder as you go.
Wow. Okay.
This is a point guard scoring 15.1 as a graduate, a shooting guard, a second guard, if you will, 14.3 as a graduate, a freshman guard averaging 11.1, redshirt sophomore 13.3 as a forward, and then the center 13 points per game as a sophomore.
Oh, jeez.
All five in double digits. 11 for a freshman.
Um, I'm. I mean, one comes to mind really quickly.
What is it?
Um, unless we did this last time, because I mean, to me, it's saying last year's team because Newton, Spencer, Castle, Caravan, Klingon. I mean, I feel like that's got to be it,
Newton was a
right?
grad.
Right?
Yeah, and then I mean, who would that freshman
I
be?
can't remember
Castle,
if
and
we did
then
last year's team in the
I don't think
last
we
one.
did. I don't think we did. So that would be
I mean, I
Newton.
feel that's the only one that makes sense to me, at least.
Oh, hold on. And that it would be Newton, Castle.
Newton, Spencer, Castle,
Yeah,
Caravan,
yeah,
Klingon.
100%.
This
Yeah,
is this is last year's team.
100%.
It is last year's
Yeah.
Yep.
team. We did the 23 team last
Oh,
time with
that's what it was. Okay. I
Hawkins and
was looking at
Jackson.
it. I was like, there's no shot this isn't last year's.
And I did remember to add the correct year this time to the answer, so I guess that's a positive for me. But moving on to round two, we have a point guard averaging 18 points per game,
3.3.
a 12.1 point per game guard as a junior, 6.1 points per game as a senior. Yeah, 13.1 points per game as a junior, and 3.3 points per game as a sophomore as the five.
Okay. So
Matt, you know what really quickly comes to me for this one? I don't know why.
what?
2018-19 or 1920, one of the two.
I don't
But
think. Well, who would that be? CV averaging 18?
yeah, that's what I think at least. But I don't know who in the world is the 3.3.
This has to be an older team. Notice how there's no like red shirts or any.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like this is an older team because we've had a red shirt every year now for like ever. It
A
feels like.
long time, yeah.
Um,
Who in the world
and
averaged 3 points? Good Lord.
senior guard averaging 6, 18 points per game. I feel like is the biggest giveaway, but the biggest guards I can think of. I mean, is that Rip? I don't
Uh,
know.
Um,
Is that Rip? That's the only person I could think of. Richard
I will.
Hamilton.
I can chime in if you want.
okay.
Remember the rules that these are the five players that made the most starts.
Huh.
Yeah.
So
So
that doesn't probably doesn't help you on the surface, but there's definitely one of the probably two of these guys you wouldn't associate with this team. Obviously, they're on the team, but like you think of the five best players on the team, two of these guys, which you can probably guess which two, were not probably considered in that
not
regard,
considered starters.
but they
3.3
did start a majority.
backup big man. Come in.
Hmm. I'm having
18 points per game.
trouble here.
This is only round two, and this was intentionally round two.
Probably makes it a little bit easier.
In theory, it should be.
In theory, it should be easy. So I
Yeah,
assume it's a team from the 90s. Like those Richard.
Wait, wait. Is
I love the
this
weights.
could this be 99? the championship team? Is that Khalid Al-Amin at the top? And then I'm like dating myself here, but Suleiman Wayne is that who
But I
that
have
is
no
down there with a
idea.
solid 3.3 points per game?
I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine, man.
God, I don't know.
We
I
could
really
just
I
shoot it up in
don't
the dark
know.
and say 99 because I genuinely don't remember the last time a
Do you
guard
want to
averaged.
just say like I guess?
What do we have to lose, man? 99.
Yeah, let's say it. Let's go.
99 is your guess?
If this is right, I might be him.
Oh, I hit the arrow. I forgot I had to click. No.
Oh,
Oh,
2013-14. Shabazz Napier, Ryan Boatright, Lassana
oh,
Chroma,
Jesus,
DeAndre
Roma.
Daniels, and Philip Nolan. You'd
Phil
assume
Nolan. Yeah, I would have never
Niels
got
Niels
that.
Giffey and Amita Bryma, I feel like, are more commonly thought of with this group,
dude,
but they
If
didn't make the majority of the starts.
yeah,
I like thought Baz, but for some reason in my head I thought he only played three.
Nah, he was all
So I
four.
kind
He
of
won
counted
his
him
one
out.
as a freshman and a senior.
damn.
Shout out Philip Nolan. Got that picture from his LinkedIn. Just thought I'd throw that in there. So you
Awesome.
guys, for the first time in this game's history, now 7 rounds have lost. But we're still
Oh,
going to play on, of course,
all right.
to
Well,
round three.
that
This is
threw
an
me for a
interesting
loop.
one.
Oh,
You
Jesus.
have
Another
a
older man.
guard averaging 12.3 points per game, another guard averaging 3.3 points per game as a freshman. The first one was a
Two
junior.
centers.
15.2 points per game as a sophomore forward. The first center, 10.3 points per game as a junior. The second center, 9.7 points per game as a senior. Two centers in this lineup.
Hmm.
Wow.
Let's think for a second.
Freshman starting.
I wouldn't have that be my lead here. Thinking of the freshman. If that's
15,
how you get it, that's impressive.
I don't know, 15
But
forward.
Another 3.3 points per game guy.
That sophomore, I'd imagine, went pro. I'd imagine.
he eventually did go pro. After the sophomore year, I'm not going to tell you that, but he did go pro.
Forward. Man, we don't have it like we used to, man. We're washed.
Yeah, we
I
might
did
be. We
I
may
did say
be.
this was going to be a little harder
I feel
this
like it's that
time.
kind of like that placebo effect that I think it's going to be harder, so it just is.
I can give you some hints if you want. I'll give you a hint for this one. I don't know how
All
much
right.
it'll help. This team won 3 NCAA tournament games this year.
Went to the
Elite Eight. Out in the Elite
Elite
Eight.
Eight. So that's old. We lost to State in the Final Four, and I think since then that's the farthest we've been.
Yep.
So it had to be before that. 409.
Hmm.
I mean, is that Ray Allen?
Ray Allen's too far back for the game.
Yeah,
Yes.
that just dawned on me. Forward. Went pro before '09. We've already done the whole Jeff Adrian thing, haven't we?
He did play multiple years, but we did. To answer your question, we did do the whole Jeff Adrian thing.
Yeah.
Mecca
Oh,
never would have played the three.
no. That's a good player right there.
I'm trying to just rule things out here. Damn, Matt, we might be washed.
Andrew, who are good forwards? Who went pro?
I'm thinking.
A little help, man. That freshman definitely came in for an injury.
Um,
There's no way you're averaging three as a starter all year.
I will confirm. I'll even give you the game started on the freshman because I don't think it'll help you.
Two centers. Double big. It's a Jim Calhoun team.
It has to be.
The freshman, 34 games, 24 starts, 3.3 points per game.
Oh,
Good Lord, that's so not helpful. This has to be like a team from like 01 to 03, something like that.
is it
Or
oh
like
04?
06 to 07, something like that.
Is it oh 04?
It's not the championship team, obviously.
This
The
team has
double
multiple double figure scorers not featured here.
Jesus. I
Oh,
mean,
I'm cooked.
unless that's Gafai and Brima.
We had them last time, didn't we? Didn't we?
Yeah, but
I
they
was
played on that team but didn't start.
think
There's
if I
a
wasn't
there's a second team All-American here from this season.
Christ.
I'm proud of myself. I feel like I
Yeah,
stumped you
you
guys.
really are getting us here. Matt, you said one, or I said it last time, so you say a year this time.
I was six.
Oh six,
I was six.
sniped. Oh
Wow.
five, oh six.
Oh
Marcus
wow.
Josh
Williams,
Boone.
Craig Austry, Rudy Gay was that sophomore. He did go pro right
Wow.
after that year, so you were right there. Josh Boone and Hilton Armstrong, the Twin Towers
Good.
down low. Team lost to George Mason in the Elite Eight.
That's that team.
I thought of Rudy Gay,
Yes.
but I like couldn't put the pieces around him enough to really guess. I
Yeah,
like
that was like in between titles. It was I
I
understand why that'd be
had
tough, but
I knew I had my
knifed
like
it.
I was there but I wasn't there. I knew it was in between titles and I knew it was in between 99 and 04 or 05 and 11. I knew it was somewhere in there. But wow, not a boy, Matt.
So you guys are 2 for 3.
I had nothing behind that.
Next up,
Oh
we
Jesus.
have
All right.
12.3 points per game from a senior, 18.1 points per game from a junior. I'm just realizing I might have a number wrong here, but I'll continue reading. 18.1 points per game from a junior, 14.9 points per game from a sophomore, 13.9 points per game from a redshirt junior who's basically a wing, and 4.4 points per game from a sophomore. And I don't think that first number's right because I think I might have made a mistake. You guys can think, well, it's lower. I'll tell you that. I'll find the real answer though. You guys can think while I find that.
Got a red shirt. Guard playing the four. Guard slash forward. A sophomore at the five, averaging 4 points per game.
Still looking for this.
Oh my God. You
Yeah,
want me
that
to
that
get
that point guard average is 7.4. That must have been whoever last time's around 4 point guard was averaging 12.3. I forgot to change that number. Knew I'd
Matt,
mess up somewhere.
Matt, I know this one
What do you think?
because that's Jalen Adams, the 18.1. There's no doubt if that's not Jalen Adams, I'll leave the damn Zoom meeting right now. And
Oh
that's
boy,
Josh
that's a lot
Carlton.
at
So
stake.
give me the 2017-18 UConn Huskies. Sorry, Matt, I'm jumping the gun on you, but I'm
That's
so
okay.
confident.
That's okay.
And
Uh, who do you think
This
that
is the
for? Yeah,
and I'm right.
2017-18.
Harry.
Antoine Anderson, 7.4. I got it right on this slide. The first slide, the one that matters. Of course, I get it wrong. Jalen Adams, Christian Vitale, Terry Larrier, and Josh Carlton. That I chose that year because that was Kevin Ollie's last year and also the worst year, 14 and 18, the worst year of the Kevin Ollie era. But there were definitely some buckets on there. So you guys are 3 for 4. So this is the last round coming up. I'd say the
Tough one.
hardest. The hardest of the harder version. We have a point guard averaging 7.7 points per game as a junior, a sophomore guard averaging 19.5 points per game,
Oh
a
boy.
forward averaging 7.7 points per game as a freshman. And don't think I forgot about those double centers. We got a couple more of them. 2.8
That
points per game as a freshman, and then 15.9 points per game as a sophomore. Double centers.
Okay.
is that
Oh,
is that a Mecca maybe? And then Alameen at the two?
freshman Emeka, you think?
Nah, actually. Was he one and done? No ball knowledge. Was Mecca one and done?
Mecca was not one and done.
No, he
Okay.
was.
So maybe his sophomore year right there. I don't know. I don't know. We're getting old. This is probably before I'm born. Someone tells me it's before I'm
Is
born.
that a hint you can give us? Is it before we were born?
I mean, you were born at separate times. That's the only hint I'll give you.
That
Well,
could be Drummond
it could
too.
be a tweener. It could be in between.
Who was on that '09 team with Drum?
Dyson,
That could be him
who
at
got
the
hurt. I mean, yeah, he did get hurt like right at the end. Okay.
20 points a game.
Yeah, who in the world?
Hamilton. Um,
I feel like there's no way that's not Rip.
it has to
It
be
has to be Rip.
it has to be a top 10 player ever. It's got to be him.
Like, right? Like,
Who averaged 15 on that team? 16 basically. It's like the two big scorers and that's it.
A lot at stake here
hmm.
in this final
A lot
round.
at stake. It's a lot of money here.
You guys say that that guard is a top 10 player. I feel like if you crunch the numbers, he is.
20 points per game as a sophomore.
Yeah. I feel like if you were to list him out, he probably is a top 10 player in UConn history.
Then it's not. It's not Richard.
I mean, Richard's probably top 10.
I mean, I guess I'd put him. Yeah,
Of
I'd put him pretty strongly in the top 10.
course, but
Is that Ben Gordon? I don't know. Is that Ben Gordon and Andre Drummond? Did they play at the same time? No, they didn't.
No, they did not.
Could be Ben Gordon. Who was on that team with Ben Gordon?
Like the '04 championship team?
I guess.
Rashad Anderson, Boone, Emeka, Gordon, and Talik Brown.
Dog, it's definitely them.
You think so?
I
Yeah.
think it's definitely them.
So who in the hell was the one that you think that's Josh Boone
I think
there
at
and Ben Gordon's
the double bigs last time he was
the
one of the double
three
bigs. Ben
and
Gordon at
then
the two, Emeka at
what
the five.
Rashad Anderson with the 20 points a game?
Nah, nah, Ben. And then Talik
As a
Brown
guard, yeah.
at the one. I think it's '04.
All right, let's go with it then.
you guys are
Oh
going
four
04.
championship team.
I think it's '04.
I did get you. I went the year before.
Damn
Oh
it.
two, oh three.
Wow.
So
Well, we
we
were
Talik
on the right
Brown. You
got
were
track.
right
three
there.
of
You
them,
were
right?
right there.
We
Talik
got three of
Brown,
them,
Ben
right?
Gordon, Denham Brown, Hilton Armstrong, and Emeka Okafor.
Den Brown.
You knew you would get
Denham
us.
Brown. I did. I didn't want to bring it up again, but I did say this is the hard round.
Yeah.
So I don't
And it was
think I would
also
put
the year I was born.
yeah. So I'm glad I got you guys on a couple of them, but you guys still 3 out of 5, over 50%. I'm gonna
We
stop
passed.
this share
We
real
passed.
quick. All right, share is gone. So yeah, that was fun. I don't know how many more of these we'll do because we're running out of years unless we
Yeah.
expand into the past, which I don't know if you guys want to try to guess the 1991 UConn Huskies teams.
Have a hard time there.
Yeah, but yeah, this was fun. I like thinking of these trivias. I know you guys enjoy playing them. But yeah, that'll do it here for episode 119. Next time you hear from us, episode 120, which I feel like that's crazy to say we've done that many episodes to this point in just a couple of years. But we'll be talking about that Seton Hall game, previewing Villanova next week, and maybe something else. Who knows? We'll figure it out then. But until then, thank you guys for tuning in and stay tuned for the next one. That didn't stop.